Um, Today we have the Conscious Kinky Partner Mentorship Program Q&A. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to record this so that we can upload it so people who are curious can check it out.
Find out about it. That's perfect.
All right. So let's do that. Thank you, folks. 1 second. Here we go.
Recording in progress.
All right, awesome. Natalie will take care of the administrative stuff, letting people in, and with the questions. My name is Kat. My name is Joshua.
My name is Kat.
And we're just wrapping up our vacation. With that said, we are the co-founders of the Kink Collective, the founders of the Kink Collective. And our intention and the philosophy that we practice is people before kink. And our intention and the philosophy that we practice is people before kink. You are who you are before what you're into, before the roles or the labels that you embody. And over the years, probably 6-7 years now, Kat and I have been working hand in hand with each other around this philosophy and approach to BDSM and leather. Over the last couple of years, we've been doing different types of weekend intensives and personal development programming, which has led us to the Conscious Kinky Partner, which we are debuting with our mentorship program and weekly schedule at the Sanctuary of East Harlem in New York City.
Yeah, we're super excited. Part of what we took the opportunity to do in this break, in this vacation, is to get these pieces together so that we can get everything launched. So on November 17th, 2 weeks from yesterday, we're going to be launching the 6-week mentorship program. It's a fully online program, and we're really excited to launch it and to have you all be part of it. So that's what we're going to spend the most of this hour talking about. And hopefully you have questions. You can ask any of your questions if you're curious about it, you've heard about it, you want to know more, to determine if this is a program that would help you. Then that's what we're here to do for this hour.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. So it kicks off November 17th. This pod is going to run from 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to meet for 6 weeks, 1 hour a week at the same time.
3 hours a week.
3 hours a week at the same time for those 6 consecutive weeks. The background of the program, the history of the program is there's a baseline of stuff that a person needs to know about themselves if they're going to pursue this journey in a safer, more informed manner. And the mentorship program is built around that. Who am I coming to the table when it comes down to connection? What does connection look and mean to me? What does it look like? What does vulnerability look like and feel like? Am I communicating transparently from a place that's authentic to me? What does that feel like? We dive into power exchange and energy exchange. We also go into vetting and discernment, as well as negotiating.
Right.
And at the end of it, self-advocacy. Who am I coming to the table? What is the power I inhabit?
Yeah. So it starts with introspection, self-reflection, self-understanding and awareness, communication, then seeing who we are in the two different sort of manifestations of this lifestyle, right? Energy exchange and power exchange, right? Then once we have an idea of what that's about and where we stand with regard to energy exchange and power exchange, then we have to look at who am I really, and how do I determine if any you is someone that I would like to have be part of my life, and in what way. And that's the vetting and discernment piece, right? It's a piece that I never had tools. No one ever taught me how to do that. No one ever explained to me that it's not just a matter of if I'm worthy, it's a matter of if you're worthy. It's a matter of once I know my value, well, who are you coming to my table? Like, do you have what I need you to have? And what is that? What am I looking for in a partner? What do I need to have be present for me to want to invest my time, resources, my body, my experience?
To feel safe. Do I feel safe?
Right. And do I feel safe, and do I feel like encouraged, like I want to? I mean, more than even just safe. It's like, are you worthy of me? Not just am I worthy of you, right?
Yeah.
For me, that was the self-value piece, the biggest turnaround for me personally in this self-value piece was understanding that, like, understanding my value means that I get to know that I'm worth it. And then the vetting and discernment piece is, how do I determine if you're worth it? Which is a total turnaround for me in terms of how I connect with people and the getting to know people process, right? Like, one of the things we talk about is that a lot of these tools that we try to make available for people are tools that I never had, and are tools that I don't know that you ever had. We've talked about that. Like, where was the manual for these things as we were coming up? Nobody gave me tools for how to get to know someone, how to do it safely, how to determine if someone was somebody worthy of my time, or that I'm a person who can even speak from that position.
Yeah.
So the vetting and discernment piece for me is really huge. And then once we've determined if someone is somebody we want to move forward in any way with, then the negotiation piece. How do we navigate what we're going to do and how we're going to do it? So that's the piece we talk about there. And then it comes right back around to self-advocacy. So once I know all of those things, how do I advocate for myself?
One of the things that I like about it most is because the stuff that we do is in my private life, the stuff that I do in my private life is really intense. It's a lot of like wild stuff. It's fun. It's like the stuff that dreams are made out of. But in order to get there, you have to be able to create it. I had to create a space of safety that I felt comfortable enough to talk about it, comfortable enough to share without feeling judged. And I also had to know where I stood on these positions, because it's like, well, how do I feel about trust and how does it build? Like, the real fundamental parts of self-awareness is what creates the sexy, because if we can talk directly and you can tell me how you feel without the fear of rejection, and I can tell you without the fear of being shamed, it's like we can talk about some really wild stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a question, is this for beginners or anyone? So this program is built for anyone. You can be brand new in the lifestyle, looking to an understanding of how this lifestyle is for me, or you can be a veteran of many, many years and have an extensive amount of knowledge and still learn based off of other people's perspectives, which is invaluable, well beyond book knowledge in my experience.
Yeah. And it's a lot of it is, where am I now? Right? So whatever our journeys have been like to get us to where we are today, whether that's brand new now to the lifestyle or to the idea of exploring it, or I've been doing it for years and years, but where am I now? It's like getting a real reading on who am I today, and what do I want and what do I need, and going forward like that.
The program is made for people who are looking to understand how this lifestyle works within their framework. Who am I within this context? Also, it helps eliminate 3 to 5 years of this journey of doing this by yourself, of trying to discover what's important for you, to be able to integrate it into your life, so that you're building connections based off of what you believe or know to be true for yourself, right? It's like we help lay out a path so that you can discover what's your truth within this framework.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get definitions, but this is not about definitions. This has nothing to do with definitions. This has everything to do with, how does this work translated through my lived experience? What does domination mean to me? What does submission look like to me? And how do I desire it in connection? It's like we take it out of the book and we take it out of your mind and we start to put language around it.
Yeah. And the program is structured such that, the series of questions that we use are done in a way that they're completely interactive. There's nothing about this program that's about us talking to you or at you. Everything about this program is, here's what we've done. Here's what's been helpful for us. Now let's do it. And we roll up our sleeves and we get in there right from the start, so that it's the program is as good as you want it to be by way of showing up and fully participating. It requires the desire to fully participate.
Yeah, awesome. So Paul we have a testifier. Paul, please jump. We would love to have you share.
Hi guys, it's nice to see you made it to your hotel today. Full disclosure, I was on vacation with Kat and Josh and our friend Tom, who was part of the last group as well. So I'm going to dinner with Tom. I asked if I could just speak first, and I see other classmates on here, Lace and Carlos and Erlene. Hi, friends. I want to say that, and Kat she'll punish me later, and I might like it, but I was in a really shitty spot in May, and I've known Kat and Joshua for years, just not as well as I do now. And I was talking to her about this new program that they were coming on with, and I was really in a bad, shitty spot. And Kat said to me in her most loving way, knowing me as she did, Paul, you're never going to feel worse about yourself than you do now. So why don't you do something about it? I'm like, all right, that's all I needed. I signed up that night, and I can tell you that I am such a different person than I was 6 months ago. These skills are completely transferable. It's not just kink related. It's not just about that. Carlos, Erlene, and Lace are three people that I never would have approached in my own life, and it's nothing about them. It's about my own insecurities, and what my thought about my value and worth were, and nothing about them. And I would have lost out on all that. I would have lost out on these great people that are now a big part of my life. This might not be a manifestation of confidence that everybody would find as a benchmark, but anybody who's ever been to a gay event knows you're going to see a lot of amazing looking people and bodies that just seem to not be real. I this week walked through the Pride Fest vendor mart without my shirt on in fucking broad daylight. That doesn't happen. That's not something that I do. I got this from this class and from the support of my teammates. I was on a float yesterday in the Pride Parade in Palm Springs for a bar that's very well known. I was on this float dressed in the white shirt and black shorts that we were supposed to wear, but underneath I had a black and white cow print jock on that I just took my shorts off, and that became what I was wearing. Now, there's no amount of money that anybody could have given me to say I would do that. And maybe nobody wanted to see that, but I didn't really fucking care because it felt good. Thank you, Jeremy. And the last thing I want to say is the skills and discernment. For the last 5 days, I've been talking to a dom in Fort Lauderdale who spent a lot of time telling me about why he's better and why he's different, and why his approach is so much better than everyone else's. And not 20 minutes ago, I asked a clarifying question because he had responded to me with, well, this should be self-explanatory. I have a trigger around should because what it meant to me was, you're stupid. Why would you ever ask this question? And so I responded to him to clarify that. And his response was, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm sorry I wasted your time. And I thought, wow, you motherfucker. I asked you something about how it was respectful. I even came back and I said, you know what? I didn't need to be as triggered. I could have taken a beat and not assumed that you thought what I thought you thought, but it doesn't matter because you're just a son of a bitch anyway. So, thank you. That's long. I was able to remember everything I wanted to say. Skills that I did have inside me that came out. And it was a rough 6 months sometimes. So, I highly recommend it. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
One of the privileges of this program is to be able to watch people grow and blossom and change and develop, and it's a blessing. It's just such a blessing. So thank you for coming on and talking about your experience. And for clarification, the program that we just finished was a 6-month program, and through it we all learned so much. And one of the things that we learned is that we believe there's going to be great value in doing a 6-week version of this program. We are developing another 6-month program that will be available down the line, but we're really excited to offer value in a little less time investment.
Because 6 weeks, that is 3 times 6.
It's 18. It's 18 hours.
In 18 hours, I don't have my shoes off, so it took me a second. I was trying to count the digits off my toes. But in 18 hours of concentrated processing, reflection, sharing, right, being able to hear all the different perspectives is also one of the most invaluable things here, right? So it's like the way that we have it set up is you'll join us. We'll start. The class starts at 10 o'clock. We'll have a check-in, and then shortly after the check-in, we'll break into small groups or one-on-ones, and there you'll have questions to process and reflect on with your partner. After that, we'll bring you into a larger group to process what you reflected on, and then to wrap it, we'll bring it into the full class circle, essentially.
Right.
And it's to integrate. What did we learn? And you'll be surprised just in being able to hold space for someone so that they can process their relationships with these questions. And what you get to process and hear from the space holding is game changing. And as you go from one group to the next and you get to hear the different perspectives and how people got there, that is so much more invaluable than getting a dictionary out of a book or someone's story. But perspective is really everything. Erlene, awesome. Yes, we would love for you to jump on.
Hey everybody. I also have to run off very soon after this, but I was really excited when Kat and Josh said that they wanted to talk about this and develop this program. And when they said, does anybody want to talk? I was just like, me. But
Oh, she froze.
Did we freeze?
I hope not.
themselves very much as a beginner at the start of this. And so it was hard for me to connect from a kink perspective. And so I was a little bit wondering if I could do a 6-month program like this. And Kat being Kat was just like, don't worry about the kink. Worry about yourself. And so for me, I use, if anybody knows me, knows like work is the other half of my life. So I kind of came from like a work perspective. And over the course of 6 months, as I started really investing in the lessons and investing in the questions that were being asked and started challenging myself to go out to more events and finding out who I was in kink and also out of kink, because Paul is right, it definitely applies like to your whole life. Not you think it applies kind of just to your kinky life and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna be the best. Well, for me, I was like, I'm gonna be the best switch ever because I'm gonna know all these things. And then and then life kind of comes at you, and I feel like the questions gave me like a bit of steel in myself, like a bit of backbone that I can always like lean on and go back to and know for things that I probably would have folded before the program. I was just like, nah, fuck you. I can do this. Also, I curse a lot, so I apologize to anybody that's been sensitive to that. Curse like a drunk sailor. But it gave me the strength to explore these things. And as somebody that has a lot of like rejection sensitivity, a lot of body dysmorphia, giving me the space to hold that and work through that with people, kind of like Paul said, that I wouldn't necessarily have approached, because I was like, oh my God, these people are so hot and they're so cute, and who's gonna want to talk to me? Giving me the space to take that out of the equation, and just sit there and listen and connect with people in a way that I don't think I would have, because I would have been in my own way, was really life changing. And I even talked to Josh like 3 months in. I was like, forget 6 months. Who I was 3 months in is so different than who I was at the start of the program. And then who I was 6 months was even more different than that. And I really value those lessons, and I value the changing of my life. And as complete proof of that, like Paul, I went to a party on Saturday and I was naked in the pool, and I was just like, where's that person came from? And it wasn't even a sense of like looking for that external validation. I felt desirable. I felt confident enough, and I felt that even if those things weren't true, fuck it, because I deserve to take up space. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without asking myself those tough questions. And being completely real, there will be times that you're just like, maybe this is too much. Maybe this is a lot. Ooh, but breathing through it, and also being really grateful and knowing that there's space holders in not only Josh and Kat, but in the relationships I grew with other people in the group, like Carlos, Lace, Paul. It's really like, it's comforting. And even when it's challenging, it's that foundation just does a world of difference. And so, yeah. And also, as somebody who's they've also had like a weekend version of this. So I've done the weekend version of this, the 6 month version of this. I think any amount of time that you give yourself, and you really allow yourself to sit with the questions and sit with I don't even say teachings, because it's like a community teaching as you all grow together. But the time that you give yourself with it is so worth it. It's like, it's just so worth it. If nothing else, to have all these questions to come and ask yourself, and see all these people that you probably wouldn't have never met with or talked, and ask themselves those questions. Yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome, Merlene. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Paul puts in, there are no right answers, only your answers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because this isn't about teaching. I mean, you said that right. Like, we're not teaching people things. We've just found our way to a formula that helps you find you in the best way possible, right? And it's not easy.
What we provide is structure. We provide structure in going into the holes, the rabbit holes, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, the next rabbit hole is, and then we roll the dice, and it's like, why do you matter? It's like, no, right? And it's a really, with that said, it's the intention is, in the beginning, if I understand who I am in character, who I am in self-value, do I know what's at risk when I come to the table?
Yes.
Right? And that in and of itself is enticing, right? It's like, that shows safety, that shows depth, that shows self-awareness, and the ability to assess risk, right? Because if you're doing this work inward, you're opening doors, you're doing shadow work, like it's called. And getting to the other side of that, it's like there's a level of confidence in that self-awareness, because you've done it.
Well, and there's confidence that comes from, I did this work, right? And so I have value to myself, if for no other reason than I like rolled up my sleeves and dug in and did this work. And that becomes the benchmark for, like, when you meet someone, you're like, so what are you doing? Like, what sleeve rolling up have you done that you're willing to like show up and it's like you have a different way of evaluating people and the time you want to spend. Like, if I'm gonna be this good to myself, if I'm gonna work this hard to be the best person I can be, then I only want people around me who are equally willing to do work, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
People who are willing to like dig in and do the hard stuff, have the hard conversations. And the nice thing about this program and all of these curated questions is, for me, like, it used to be really hard for me to go, meet somebody new, and I always felt awkward, and what do I say, and how do I meet someone, and I have mad work extroverted skills, but as a human being, like, I would just rather stay home. Like, I am that person in the corner, like the wallflower, any socials. If I don't have a function, if I don't have a job or some reason, it's very hard for me. And I've never known what to say. And so now, for me doing this work, I am armed with questions. I can meet anyone.
You can go into a room and own the room.
Yes.
And by own the room, I mean own your space. Like Erlene said, you can go in there and take up space.
Your own space.
Your own space.
Because we talk about that. How much is enough? How much is too much? How much is not enough? Right? Like, space, right? Like, and I can comfortably engage with people because now I can say things like, why do you matter?
No, it was cool. We were in Palm Springs, and we were at this marijuana / psychedelic event thing. And during COVID, Kat and I got very much into the process, the therapeutic process, the how it works and all this stuff. Like, we really dove into it. So we walked into the space, and every booth you went to, you knew exactly what you were talking about. And it was like just the way people would look at you like, damn, she knows her shit. But to be able to take that space, especially when it comes to self-awareness, that there's like a power in that.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. That's what I saw in you in real time. Meaning, this is how this stuff bleeds over. It's like,
it is.
when you know, you
Yes.
know.
Right, and I don't have to apologize. Because one of the things that I've always struggled with is you're too much, sit corner, be quiet, don't take up so much space. And I struggled with that for years and years. And some of this process has given me the strength and the courage and the confidence to be who I am and to own what I know a lot of stuff. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I learned big words from the time I was 3, and I've been beaten down about my vocabulary from the time that I was young, and have been apologizing for myself and for my strength and for my power and for my knowledge and for my experience, like, all of my adult life. And I have been able to stop doing that. I don't have to apologize for myself anymore.
Yeah.
Right? That's a really freeing feeling.
The ability to flex your vocabulary, to build your vocabulary, is another part of this, where we all have these thoughts, and especially when it comes around to intimacy and desire, right? Going through this process in understanding your relationship with power exchange and energy exchange, vulnerability, the desired roles within these
Right,
things. It's like,
yeah.
we have these images, but we don't have the language. Because what I've noticed from either doing this work professionally, doing professional domination, where we hold space and we talk to folks and help them unpack this, to event hosting and helping people find their language, it's like getting those thoughts out of your head in a space where there's no pressure to engage, and it's purely personal development based, educational.
Yeah.
It's like you build your vocabulary, and it really changes how you're able to communicate and connect in personal desire.
Yeah. Well, and that's, again, a lot of this stuff. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know anybody that it had anything to do with kink, leather, BD. I knew but I just knew I desired things differently than the people around me. I had no idea how to talk about it. I had no idea if it was even okay to talk about it, or who I would talk about it to. And so when you say take 3 to 5 years off of that journey, it's like by dropping us into who we are and finding language, identifying for myself, well, what about power exchange matters to me? What about energy exchange am I interested in engaging in? And doing it in a concentrated, focused sort of a way takes a lot of time out of that. Going to an event and trying to learn something, or finding people to talk to and not knowing. And there's a lot of people out there with a lot of opinions. I find the beautiful part about this is your opinion is what needs to matter most to you. What you want, how you think, what you feel like needs to matter most to you. And this process lets you get to that place where you can have confidence in yourself, in what you know and believe to be true about you, and what you want in the connections that you have with other people. So yeah.
With every topic, we set a baseline of definitions. What is power exchange? What is dominance? What is submission? What is energy exchange? What is topping? What is bottoming? Like, You will get the definitions. You will get the textbook stuff because that stuff matters, as that's the societal baseline of expectation.
Yeah.
Right. Dominance means X.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I think a lot of the people, I mean, all of us, you and I included, discovered how enlightening it was just to hear other people talk about these very basic things, right? We have the dictionary definition, but how many times did we say, here's the definition of this? And then we listened to everyone around the room and went, oh my God, there's 14 different viewpoints on this, right?
Yeah.
And so much to learn from each other.
Before we jump to Lace, as facilitators, right? I'm Master Joshua, going in there knowing all this stuff, years of decades of experience, right? After that first class where everyone shared their perspective on dominance, I was like, what? Because it painted such a broader picture for me. Yeah. I learned at least 14 other perspectives in this last program that we did, for every topic, for every class, all the time. Like, my brain was exploding. The participants who were here from the 6-month program, the amount of experience and perspective that they gain, we are hoping that they join us as facilitators throughout some of these programmings whenever they can. So them coming on here as well as to hear what we have upcoming, but also to share their experiences. Lace, you have your hand up.
Thank you. And I apologize, I missed the memo because it's kind of like offline all day. But I did want to say something. Oh, it's giving me a message here. Okay, never mind. In terms of just a little bit of my perspective here. So my history is that the last 6 years or so, I've been doing a lot of like inner work. And when I learned about the program, after getting to know Joshua and Kat so much more just in this past year, it was Kat that brought it to me, and, what do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know. It's scary, because it's like, what did you say, Kat? It's not for the weak of heart, right? And, but I will say that, oh my God, what an experience. So a couple of things, like for me, throughout my life, I was the person that was like in the corner, the people pleaser and all that. And even coming into this lifestyle, which is about 6 or 7 years now, I'm like, oh, I got it. I'm good. It's all right. So I came into this with a completely open heart and with the conscious decision that I'm going to be honest with myself, right? Because otherwise it doesn't work for me anyway, right? So to say that it was validating for me in so many ways, right? And I say validation because there was so much doubt in who I was, who I am, how I think of things, right? But each question was like going deep and coming to terms with, you know what, I do know things and I am worthy of things, right? And I had, alignment with a lot of like the definitions and such, but going deeper was a whole other level, and I try to be a very good communicator and open and all of that, but this was amazing. As the others have said, whether it's kink life or your life at large as a whole, right? It affects you across the board because you really get to know who you really are. And believe me when I tell you, everybody thinks they know who they are. Okay? I will challenge each and every one of you. Okay? But it's such a beautiful journey, and the friends that I've made along the way, Carlos and Paul, it's just tremendous. And I think I'm babbling now, but it's worth it. It's an investment in yourself. We take classes, we go to school to be better than we were yesterday, right? And to continue that progress tomorrow. So I would highly encourage everyone to join in, and that's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
Oh my God! Thank you,
Thank
Lace.
you, Lace.
Thank you, Lace. Pup Stitch says, pulling out pieces that are there, not missing or lost, just hidden. Yeah, dude. Exactly. What Lace was touching on, community. We have a WhatsApp group that is with each pod, and you'd be connected through this pod. You'd have homework after every session that'll prepare you for the next session.
And that'll start with before we meet. So once you sign up, a little bit closer to the 17th, everyone's going to get their first assignment before we even meet. So you come prepared for the very first. We hit the ground running. There's no, we don't waste any time with these 18 hours that we're going to spend together.
Yeah, it's a very conscious-driven program, and by that what we mean is everything that you're going to do, everything that you're going to cover is going to be based off of definition and how it relates to you. None of it is lecture based. We're not going to give any PowerPoints. We're not going to sit there and talk about this. From the get-go, you will be put into conversations that are structured with questions and time slots, time frames. And the idea is to just talk from an honest place. None of it is invasive, but yet it's mysteriously personal, right?
Yeah.
But like not embarrassing, not scary, but
Yeah.
who am I in value? Who am I in character?
And the truth is that everyone who stayed with it each week would come and maybe not be able to answer every question. Maybe, it's like nobody had to do anything perfect. Everybody just did everything to the best of their ability and then showed up and then learned. If there was a question that was challenging for you to answer, then you'd sit in your small group and hear 2 or 3 other people and then 4 or 5 other people talk about their answers to those questions, and then illumination would happen for you. And the same thing was true for me. Like, the groups that we did, I had my answers to the questions, and then some of those questions were more challenging for me, and then I learned from everyone in my group based on the things that they had to say. There's like an exponential kind of growth that comes from doing this work side by side with other people who are also invested in doing this work.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. The community that you build is everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants to understand what this means for them. Everyone has questions and they want to understand, how can I be a better partner? How can I be a more conscious partner? How can I create the space that I need created for me?
Yeah.
Right? Because I think walking away from this is we end up learning that iron sharpens iron and that we need to be the person that we needed.
Yeah.
And how do we get there?
Yes. That's a big perspective shift for this. Is I'm not necessarily the conscious kinky partner idea comes from the idea that I'm not out there looking for the perfect you. I'm looking to be the perfect me, right? I'm looking to be the partner that I'm looking for. Like, because until I can be my best partner, then I'm trying to get someone else to do something for me that I need to do for myself.
Yeah. I mean, understanding perfection is unattainable.
Right.
It's not that.
Yes.
It's just that I am where I need to be for myself, and I need you to be where you need to be for yourself.
Right.
So we can make this shit happen, man. Because listen, I can't talk about the stuff I do when the cameras are off, but to get there, right? The deeper the connections, the deeper the play.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like it changes everything, and you see how it bleeds out into every part of your life.
Yeah.
Just actually being mindful and seeing how important
Yeah.
things are to you and what it means to be seen and heard and valued through this experience as a baseline. Like, to be validated as a regular experience over these 6 weeks will change how you allow others to treat you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I am benefited from these last 6 months in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
I am at a point now where I'm no longer willing to be treated as I have allowed myself to be treated up until now.
And these next 6 weeks for the mentorship program are a launch pad for change.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't come to this program if you're not looking for change. Don't come to this program if you're at a place where you're ready to take your own self and your own life and your own experience to another level.
Yeah, it's
Right.
accountability through being witnessed.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking a lot.
What
This
kind of
is
questions?
this is the forum for questions. So please, if you have questions, if you're curious about something, if you want to know more about any of these things, let me know.
Yeah, please drop
put
any
it in
questions.
the chat. Yeah.
Big Daddy, take it away. What question do you have?
So I've heard you guys. Has it been 6 months already? But I remember when you started this. Let me start that. I've been around since just coming in as you were starting that 6 months. That's blowing my mind that it's been 6 months. So I've heard you guys talk about it. Lace, I've heard you talk positive about it. I've heard a couple other people talk. The connection that you hear, just to share with everybody else, because I've been around everybody. I haven't done the program. Like I said, I just walked in as they started it. But I've heard the people growing through it. Everybody that went through that program grew somewhere. Let me just put that out there as someone who hears. I don't know, but I did hear it all, and I heard that everybody was opening their hearts. Their hearts were being opened to themselves.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
That means a lot.
Yeah.
Now, how does here's one question, a couple questions. What is something that is poked? Like, can I poke into the program and ask you guys what's in there? What are these questions, or what is a question? Maybe?
So, one of the questions that I think is fundamental is, what does trust mean and what does it take to build? Right? And that question is important for a couple of reasons. One is, you need to be able to define your baseline of trust. What is it? What does it mean to me? Is trust something you have to gain with me, or is trust something you have to lose with me? And that gives you an operating process that you have, that now you're aware of how you establish trust, and if it's gained or lost. What actions does a person have to take in order to gain that level of trust? When you're answering that question to another human being, they're witnessing your statement. And it's like, now someone's heard your truth on what does trust mean and what does it take to build. So should I fuck that up? Should I drop that ball because I didn't pay attention to the flags? That is now on me, because this person just witnessed my truth on that.
Accountability. The part of the benefit of doing this in community is the sense of accountability, right? It's like, it's one thing to get to know something myself and tell myself I should or shouldn't do something, or I should make the difference or a change or whatever. But then if I don't do it, there's not the sense of consequence as there is when I have spoken my truth in front of a group of people who I've come to know and trust and is doing this journey with me. And then I let myself down, or then I act contrary to the things I have said that matter to me and that are of my beliefs. Now I'm experiencing consequence, and it's a much greater, I'm so much more encouraged to do the right thing for myself.
And while realistically anyone at any time can pass on a question, you can pass, but you don't get what you're there to get. And nobody is there to pass. Everyone is there to hold their feet to the fire, because the person in front of you just bit the jalapeno too. It's like you model bit the jalapeno. You model it by example, right? If I want to gain access to you, if I want you to trust me, if I want you to see I'm a good person, I have to lead with my example of being a good, vulnerable person. Right? It's like we can't ask of someone what we're not willing to do ourselves. And this process of question and processing is opening up doors of what's important to us in order to gain connection with someone. That, again, that isn't invasive, but is fundamentally, it's our building blocks of who we are in character.
I'm remembering there was a point in time where someone, and I don't remember the exact person, but there was someone who didn't want to answer a particular question, and was very firm about, I'm not comfortable with this question. And being able to voice that, and to be able to stand in that particular truth was empowering, and also gave the person the opportunity to look at why that was true for them. What was it about that question that made them not want to answer it? What was it about them that they didn't they didn't either fully understand or fully integrate or see a different perspective on to understand why the question had been asked in the first place. And then learning and growth came from it anyway. But it came from a space of being able to say, I don't want to answer that question. And that was honored as well.
Yeah, because that absolutely, like 100%, if you're uncomfortable with a question or anything by any stretch of the imagination, it is your right and safety to say, no, I can't, or I don't want to. And it also gives you the space to process the roadblock.
Right.
We had someone who culturally came up against the relationship with submission, right? Being Latino, submission culturally, through my eyes, if I were to lay the cultural route, is weakness, right? But I know my own journey and through defining what submission means to me, that it doesn't mean weakness at all, right? So it's like when you realize that, when I realized that some of my operatings were based off of other people's definitions and perspectives, it was like, but that's not what I believe to be true.
Right.
And it gave me the space to process that too. And that's how I learned as a facilitator in this process. It's, oh shit, I didn't think about humiliation looking that way.
Right.
And it gave me access, a whole new doorway to a whole new set of tools of enjoyment.
Yes.
I don't do these things. I've never connected to anything online yet. I'm still new and trying to figure it out. How am I supposed to get connected to this?
Well, thank you, Big Daddy, for asking. Website, Mama?
Yeah, if you're curious to find out more or you're curious to want to sign up, go to kinkcollective.net. I'm sure someone can put that in any of the chats.
That'd be very helpful.
Kinkcollective.net is the website. There is a link you can go to the event calendar and go to the 17th of November, and the event is listed there. Also is the opportunity to make the deposit payment, which holds your spot, and then we'll get an email. You'll email with us any other questions that you have, and then the program just starts on the 17th. It's all on Zoom, so that's your access, is a Zoom link that you'll use for the whole 6 weeks. And we'll start at 10 a.m. on Sunday, and we'll go until 1 p.m. every Sunday for 6 Sundays in a row. And anyone can access it from anywhere. The people who were in this last group were not all in New York City. It was live. All of it's online, so it's very accessible to anyone who's interested in participating.
Awesome. So, any questions on TikTok? Any questions on Instagram? You guys on Zoom? Let's see. Why do I matter? Yeah, that's Carlos. Carlos, jump on in.
Thanks, Master Joshua and Kat. I just want to speak up for the program. The best visualization I have of the program, particularly when it comes to change, is that when I first started the program, about a quarter of the people were literally sitting in the dark, or they were kind of off camera like this, and you only saw the camera in the head. And then as the weeks began to progress, some people came into focus. And before you knew it, the lights came on. They had the dogs on their laps. And they sat proud, centered, focused. So when Kat talks about change, when you start the program, if you start the program, important to remember, welcome change, because change is going to come. I know Paul spoke about how some of the skills and that we learned reverberate all throughout our lives. And I can tell you, not just my kink side, but at work. I can give you a good example. I'm speaking about a wallflower. I go to work, sit in my cubicle. I'm kind of a little social a little bit, but keep my distance. And because of the program, I ran for president for an LGBT group at work. And I was elected, and I can honestly say, if it wasn't for the program, I wouldn't have made that move. So, I definitely want to encourage everyone to, consider it. We throw these terms around like transformative, energizing, empowering, but I can, there's a group of us here that can really provide testimony and truth to that. And again, I just want to encourage all of you who are thinking about this, just jump into it, dive right into it. Thanks.
Wow, thank you,
Thank you, Carlos. You gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, wow. That made me think of one of the disclaimers that we have in the beginning now is a lot of the shit's going to seem very vague at first, and you're going to be like, what is he talking about? But as Carlos had mentioned, diving into it, like, it allows you to see your position is just, where do I stand
Yeah.
in this context? And it's really eye-opening once you're seated across from someone else who interpreted the question totally different. And it's like, it's really game-changing.
And there's no right answer, right? You're both right. Your answers are different because they're your answers, and they're equally viable.
Yeah.
And so some of this too is getting used to sitting with the gray, right? Life isn't black or white, and it's technicolor. It's a beautiful rainbow of colors, right? And so it's like learning to sit with your orange and my yellow and his purple, and it's all equally valuable and meaningful. It's about authenticity, right? And we're like everyone's like a snowflake. I mean, we're all a little bit different, right? Like, how boring a color would it be if we were all yellow? If the only thing that was right or real was this one way, this one answer.
Being able to have your lived experience valued,
Yes.
and appreciated and validated, right? It's like there'll be times in some of these programs, classes, where you'll hear someone share something that you've only had an image in your mind for. And it was like, oh my God, exactly, yes, yes, exactly that, with the left-handed screwdriver and all, right? It's like, it really just clicks, and it's like, it's liberating when you can have language for things you've only had thoughts for.
Yes.
Right? Oh my God.
Well, and then to know that other people have it too.
Yeah.
Right, that aha moment when you realize that someone else has had the same thing in their head, and maybe they haven't had the words either, and then you both find words together for something that you just only ever had in your head, and had never met anyone else who had it in their head either.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So for the folks who are just joining us on the social media platforms, we're talking about the mentorship program of the Conscious Kinky Partner, which we are debuting on November 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
We only have a couple minutes left.
Yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to share? Were there any other questions out here? Anyone else wanted to talk?
Paul's waving his hand.
Chris has something to say.
Oh.
He really does. He just needs a little push. Please, Chris, come on. We're all here for you.
Okay. So yeah, talking scene-wise, I got to see in January, and I really didn't know anything. And I'm on the spectrum also, so making connections and stuff was tough. And definitely through this program, it really helped me become more comfortable communicating with people, especially myself, being more authentic and like initiating and like receiving and holding space for other people. Definitely in the time since I've become a lot more confident and discovering myself in a lot of ways through Kink, and also moving those skills to other areas of my life and making friends and building that up through a lot of those skills and practice and conversations we've had through the mentorship. So it definitely really helps. It's been a lot of fulfillment and self-discovery, especially through the program, and moving those skills in and out of life and Kink. It's been very satisfying. So I definitely can say that the person I was January, April, May when it first started, and now is a very different person.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Jeremy.
Hey, Kat. Master Joshua, what's up?
Hello.
This is Jeremy, aka Kid Kat. It's been a couple months. It's good to see you guys. So there's definitely a theme here that I'm hearing around the virtual room or the virtual space where it's about like building confidence like coming in a lot of different forms. It's like, who am I? Why am I? What gives me value? Why do I take up space? Which is all really cool. And defining what trust is. Is there any piece of this program that's also how to avoid, like, there are certain people that you've got to, like, in the scene that maybe you're like, okay, I've got to keep them at arm's length because there's some danger there.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. Is there anything that we have within this mentorship program that helps with
Right. flags and stuff like that.
With red flags and being able to discern if we should connect with this person or not. So in our fourth week, we go into vetting and discernment, where we have the green flags, yellow flags, and red flags that the internet says that are out there, right? We can pull up that list. But then there's also the discernment of judging a person's character by what they show you, their willingness to be as open or vulnerable as you. And when I use the word vulnerable, I don't want to come from I'm bearing my chest to you, you have full access to me. But it's a way that you can show a part of yourself that's important to you that isn't intimately vulnerable, but it's enough that a person has to meet that threshold to gain access to you. For example, what I mean by that is one of my favorite questions is, do you believe in life after death? And I don't care what your answer is, just that you're open to answering the question, right? But if that's a question that you aren't comfortable answering or opening the door to because it's too deep, then we're not going to have the ability to connect, right? So it's like there's different ways to gauge compatibility and emotional, spiritual, physical safety, to name a few, just based off the conversations that we have with a person and how we feel in their presence. If we feel unsafe, that in and of itself is a red flag.
Some of the benefit of the process of being with the other people in your cohort and going from the groups of 2 or 3 to the groups of 4 or 5 to the group every week, and really speaking and your truth and being heard and then witnessing other people, is that in of itself creates the benchmark for what anyone in the world needs to be willing to do in order to gain access to your time and your energy. Like, I'm no longer willing to spend time with people who aren't willing to engage at that level. And there are ways to do that, that people learn through the process of these questions that we talk about and how we do this, right? Like Joshua's example is his personal example, right? But we all at this point, everyone who's been through this process could tell you, I'm sure, what questions matter to them, what things does a person who I'm getting to know need to be able to do and show up and say for me to be willing to continue to get to know them, right? And understanding that it is a process, right? I don't just meet you and automatically give you, the green light to go from 0 to all the way into the closest part of me. There's just a process, right? And some of that process is, I ask you a question, I reveal a little bit about myself. Part of this process stops TMI. I don't know if other people have been guilty of TMI, but that idea that we meet someone and we get excited, whatever, and we tell everything, and then you don't have any idea how you're even being heard or received, right? And so some of that is that process of learning how to gauge how another person that you're getting to know is seeing you, receiving you, and you're taking in what they're saying and how they're being.
We actually go through that exercise right at the very beginning through a process we have called Connection Simplified. And it's a structured conversation where you two, we put you one-on-one with a person who's in the program, and you have this conversation of personal realities, personal truths, perspectives, awarenesses. And in that process, you get to experience vulnerability and safety in real time, and you get to see how that feels in your body, where you're talking with someone without an agenda other than getting to know the other person. And that experience really changes how you have conversations. And imagine being able to do it online. Doing it in person is a whole other experience, because you get to feel the energy with this person. After you go through any of our programs, this is like our SOP, our standard piece of connection and space holding process, so that everyone who goes through it, who experiences it, sees exactly what it means to be witnessed and to be heard and seen. And that sets the baseline, period, moving forward with us.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, Jerry.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Would anyone else like to share?
If I could add just something to what you were saying just now, is that what I realized through this is that it's like I didn't realize what I didn't realize, until I was presented with the question. And it's like, you know, coming in thinking, oh yeah, I got this, I got that. I've been working on myself for 6 or 7 years. I'm good, right? No, no. It's so deep and fully like encompassing, and if you're in it, if you're wholly in it, right? Like the vulnerability that Joshua spoke of, you know, it's not like, oh, here's my heart and, you know, my bleeding heart. No, it's gently, right? Sharing some things. And even in that process, for me, it's like, well, I am a little bit more discerning in people, and you know, I stay a little bit more like, now I'm observing. You know, we're talking about questions. If you're answering it in a certain kind of way, I don't have to go any further. Let's say if I'm applying this outside, right? In the program, I answer the questions, right? But you ask someone a question, you meet someone, you ask them a question, and they give you like a hard no answer. You just smile and you keep it moving, right? But you know that because you learn that. And all I'm saying is that I think that for me, there were things that I just did not even realize were things. And this really just opened my world. And today, you know, 6 months later, I am a different person. And I am so grateful. I am so proud of myself. When I look at my fellow group members, and like Chris, I watched his growth and his just transformation, and Karma and Carlos and Paul, all of them, and I'm like, oh my God, how much everyone's changed. And then it hit me, well, so have I, you know. So it's beautiful. It's just amazing. I think this should be part of life. Like, we should all go through this, because we really don't know. Thank you.
Yeah, the really don't know until you realize you don't know happened to me that first class. The first class, at the end of it, I was like, what the fuck? I've been showboating all these years. It was crazy how much you don't know until you hear it reflected back to you in everyone else's perspectives. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Woo. So, any other questions? Would anyone else like to ask any questions?
Karma, I had seen your hand.
I just wanted to say that I was in it. I mean, I'm not a newcomer to the lifestyle. I've been in it for a bit. And I came in kind of more scared of what I might not get than sure of what I would get. And like, I did not come in a rainbow and hearts and like enthusiasm. And I was, and I don't think like I changed deeply. I'm a different person. I'm the same person, but I'm the same person with much stronger in small areas that I didn't realize, one, I was not okay with, and two, could ever change. Like, I didn't even know that I could be subtly different, and I didn't know how much that subtle different would mean to me. And I don't think, like, I can't say my life has changed, but I can say I am more hopeful. Let's say I'm in a better place than I was, and I'm more hopeful for more better. And like, stuff that I would say, that's just, you know, fantasy talk to, or like, that's just propaganda. I would say that, like, you know, a few months ago now, and be like, give it a spin. It might work.
Yes, only delivered the way only Karma can deliver that. Yes. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. So does anyone else have any questions before we wrap? Again, if you are curious to find out more about it or to sign up, you can go to kinkcollective.net. That's our website. go to the events page, just click on the November 17th event. It's there, it's described. There's a way to make your deposit. Then I'll reach back out to you and get all of the rest of the information from you and get you the information you need to get started and all of that.
This program is made for all levels of experience, but folks who are looking to understand what it means to establish more conscious connections, right? To be more authentic, showing up to the table, removing the masks in a supportive space in where everyone is doing the same work with you at the same time. The goal is to have a structured way to develop your own awareness around who you are as a conscious kinky partner, right? Who am I within this framework? To be the best version of yourself that you can be through your own hard work. We aren't selling you any magic pills. It's like you're going to swim through all of this shit yourself with all of us swimming with you. Right? But it is a team effort and a solo effort, right? It's like you will get out what you put in.
Exactly. This is one of those programs that you'll get out what you put in. And you'll get it out. You just have to put it in.
You just have to put it in. And it's not for the person who is curious, right? It's like you have to want to know.
Yeah, because curiosity will get you past like halfway into week 1.
Yeah, and it's
right. Like you got to know that you're there and that you want to be there, and like I don't know. I saw it in the chat. I don't know if everybody did. There are moments you heard people say where you're like, do I want to keep going? Do I want to keep doing this?
Yeah.
But the benefit for doing it is way worth it.
Tenfold.
It's way worth it.
Tenfold. So. We meet starting November 17th every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for 3 hours. The first one is self-awareness, self-value. The second week is power exchange and your relationship with power exchange. The third is energy exchange. The fourth week is vetting and discernment. The fifth week is negotiations. And the sixth week is self-advocacy. All in time to wrap up for the new year, new me slogan, right?
Stop.
Right, get 2025 off on the right foot.
That was the cheesiest thing I think I ever heard you say.
Also, starting November 15th, our doors are back open in East Harlem.
Yeah.
The Sanctuary of East Harlem is going to be back open with our BDSM play parties every Friday night from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. Thursdays, our rope share. Chris, Chris is going to be hosting our rope shares at the Sanctuary that following Thursday. I want to say the 23rd. I don't know what day it is, but the following Thursday from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Yes.
And then every Saturday, we have our BDSM dojo, which is from 2 to 5 p.m., where the first week we teach sensations and sensory. The second week we do impact.
Bondage.
The third week we do bondage.
No.
The second week we do bondage. The third week is impact. And then the fourth and fifth weeks are wild cards, depending on how many weekends are in that month. We'll have different guest instructors coming to teach needles or different types of rope or any other specialty kinks that are out there that won't be in our regular rotation. Now, what makes our BDSM dojo is you can come in with any skill set, any level of experience, and learn. We break the group up to beginners, intermediates, and experience, and we meet you with where you're at in that particular type of subset of play.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk about bondage, it's just not rope. It's rope, mummification, restraints, any type of equipment that can restrain. Right? So this is a place that you can come and learn and experience and practice.
And you can go from I'm just curious and I've never tried it before to I've been doing this for years and I'm looking to like either level up this particular thing or that particular thing or whatever. The Sanctuary is in East Harlem. And if you're, it's the address is in the website with any of the events, you can find it there. And and so we're going to do that every Saturday from 2 to 5.
And then we have the ebook, the mentorship ebook coming out as well, which is in the final stages. It'll be released on November 15th.
And essentially the questions that you're asking about are all going to be in the book. There's nothing mysterious about what we do, right? And we're not withholding information from people. Like the book is going to have it all out there. You would be able to take this book and run with it and have all the information that you need.
The difference is the space to process it with. the witnessing, the accountability of people hearing your truth, people holding space and accepting you with your answers, being able to see that, oh my God, I'm not the only one that thinks this or has experienced this or is curious about that.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about the yes, no, maybe list, kinks and fetishes, in the 5th week. Right? Like we get in there in the 5th week, because before any of that stuff matters, you need to know who you are in character.
Yes.
Because
Right.
when you
because
don't-
it's people before kink. It's
people-
who we are comes before what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really, that's like, it's what it boils down to, the way we approach everything. You know, from our very modest beginnings as event promoters and producers, it's like, we just got tired of people showing up and saying, I want this, you know, like people treating people like kink dispensers. Who are you as a person? That matters so much more.
So much
Whatever's
more.
supposed to happen play-wise will grow out of who am I and who are you and how are we showing up for one another.
So much more. So much more. Kink dispensers. That's exactly how we got here.
Yeah.
We were tired of feeling like kink
dispensers.
dispensers.
So,
And it's like, well, how do you learn how to cut that line as fast as you can? This is what that program is for.
Yeah.
So that you don't become a kink dispenser. Because, I mean, you're invested.
it's tiring.
If you're here, you're invested into understanding yourself. And that is the last place you want to be.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, so
Thank
much
you.
for tonight. If you have any other questions, please message us, kinkcollective.net.
Yep. There's a way that it just says, you know, contact us. You can send us an email directly.